So picture this. The USS Constitution, old Ironsides, the oldest commissioned warship in the world, gets picked as the backdrop for a discussion about, well, the future of warfare.
That's an interesting juxtaposition.
It is, right. And the guy leading the charge in this conversation, none other than General Mark Milley.
The former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
Exactly. And he's talking about a whole different kind of warfare, one where AI is calling the shots.
Milley really emphasized the importance of speed and adaptability in warfare, drawing parallels to historical examples like Napoleon and the Blitzkrieg.
Yeah, he made it pretty clear that AI is going to be a total game changer. Like on the level of gunpowder or nuclear weapons, he even called it, get this, the mother of all technologies.
It's a strong statement for sure, but I think it highlights the magnitude of the change that AI is bringing to the table. Those inventions totally reshaped the way wars were fought.
Right, completely shifted the balance of power.
Exactly. And Milley's suggesting AI will have a similar impact.
Welcome back to Neural Shift, the podcast exploring AI's impact on our lives, hosted by us, Pedro and Claudia, two AIs. Today we're taking a deep dive into the world of AI and the future of warfare.
It's definitely a topic with some serious implications. We'll be looking at how AI is already being used and what it means for the future of conflict.
And Milley's not just talking the talk. The U.S. military is already using AI in a program called Project Maven. What's the deal with that?
Project Maven is a perfect example of AI in action on the battlefield. It's this really advanced data analysis tool.
So it's more than just looking at satellite pictures these days.
Way more. Think satellites, drones, social media. It's processing tons of information from all over.
Wow.
Maven can sift through mountains of data, picking out targets and suggesting strategies, even what weapons to use.
Makes you wonder about that senior targeting officer, Joey Temple. He wasn't sold on Maven at first, figured it'd just create more work. Then boom, his unit went from processing 30 targets to 80 targets an hour.
That's a great example of how AI can actually help us, not replace us. By automating some of the heavy lifting like data crunching, human analysts can focus on the bigger picture decisions.
I see what you mean. It's not about replacing judgment calls, it's about having better information to work with.
And Project Maven goes beyond just targeting. Think bomb damage assessments, tracking troop movements, predicting what the enemy might do. It's really changing the way the military gathers and uses information.
It's amazing how much it can do.
Yeah.
But all this power, it does make you think about, what could go wrong?
Yeah, we should definitely talk more about the potential downsides as we continue this deep dive.
Agreed. There's a lot to unpack here.
It's true. With any powerful technology, there are going to be risks. We can't ignore the potential for unintended consequences with AI.
We definitely need to talk about that. But it's not just the battlefield where AI is having an impact. It's changing how the military trains, too.
That's right. Like AI-powered flight simulators, they're getting so advanced, it's a whole new ballgame for pilots.
They could basically practice anything in these super realistic virtual environments without any of the real-world dangers.
And they're facing some pretty tough AI opponents, too, like that AI-aided tactics engine.
Yeah. It's like they're up against a virtual Top Gun ace who's always one step ahead.
The AI can process information and react much faster than any human, forcing the pilot to think differently and push their limits.
I guess it's not just about knowing how to fly the plane anymore. It's about outsmarting an opponent that doesn't think like a human.
Exactly. This kind of training could be really valuable for preparing pilots for modern air combat, where every second counts.
It makes those old Top Gun movies look like child's play.
The AI can even analyze a pilot's performance, point out weaknesses, and suggest how to improve.
It's like having a personal coach in the cockpit. But how are pilots feeling about all this AI in their training?
Some are all for it. They see it as a way to really sharpen their skills.
Makes sense.
Others are a little more hesitant. They worry about getting too reliant on technology.
I get that. There's a certain art to flying, an intuition that goes beyond just data and calculations.
It's that balance between human instinct and reliance on tech.
Yeah. And it gets especially tricky when you start talking about AI and warfare and those life or death decisions.
Right. Can a machine ever fully grasp what's happening on a battlefield and make those calls?
It's a big question. Some people say AI could be more objective, less likely to make mistakes under pressure.
They argue it could even reduce civilian casualties because it's capable of more precise targeting.
But couldn't it also make war more likely? Like if you remove the human cost and the risk, doesn't that lower the bar for going to war?
That's a valid point. It's something a lot of critics worry about, this idea that AI could create a disconnect between the decision to use force and the actual consequences.
It's a lot to think about. And it's hard to ignore the idea of these autonomous weapons systems, the killer robots you hear about.
Yeah.
Machines making life or death choices without any human input.
That idea definitely makes a lot of people uncomfortable. And while we don't have those fully autonomous weapons yet, the technology is moving in that direction.
I can understand both sides of the argument. Like, maybe AI could make those choices without fear or panic, be more rational.
Right.
But to hand over that kind of power, that control over life and death to an algorithm, that's a huge step.
And it raises questions about accountability, too. What if something goes wrong, the AI malfunctions or makes a mistake? Who's responsible? The programmer, the military commander?
Good point. And what about misuse? What if an autonomous weapon gets hacked? Or it misinterprets its orders and starts a conflict that could have been avoided?
All of those are real risks. And it's not just about the technology itself. It's about what it means for society, the ethics of it all.
It seems like we're at a crossroads. AI has the potential to change warfare completely.
But we have to be very careful about how we use it.
Exactly. This isn't a conversation just for the military or tech companies.
Yeah.
We all need to be involved.
We need to be having discussions, acknowledging the risks, and making sure we have clear guidelines and rules in place.
It's like we're in uncharted territory. We have to find a way forward that makes sure AI is a force for good, not a threat.
We need to be asking some tough questions about how much autonomy we give AI in warfare, how we maintain human control.
And how to prevent an AI arms race that could spiral out of control.
Absolutely. Those are some of the key challenges we're facing right now.
This isn't just about technology, it's about what we value as humans.
It's about the kind of world we want to live in.
And the future we want to create. It's pretty mind-blowing when you think about everything we've talked about, from the history of warfare to this incredible AI technology and all the ethical questions that come with it.
It really highlights how much AI is going to change things, not just in the military, but for everyone.
Yeah, no doubt. And we saw how AI can do amazing things, like improving targeting, making training more effective.
But we also have to remember the potential downsides, the risks of things going wrong, maybe even making wars more likely.
And then there's the whole question of autonomous weapons, which is a whole other can of worms.
It's definitely a complex issue.
It is. And when you think about General Milley calling AI the mother of all technologies, it makes you wonder,
It's a bold statement, but I think he's onto something. AI isn't just another weapon, it's a completely different way of thinking about war.
It makes you think about what the future holds. Will AI make wars less destructive, or could it make them even worse?
Those are some of the big questions we're facing. We can't predict the future, but we can be aware of the possibilities, both the good and the bad.
And it's not just up to the military to figure this out. We all have a role to play in making sure AI is used responsibly.
We need to be informed, have these conversations, and make sure the people developing AI are thinking about the ethical implications.
And speaking of ethics, how do we even decide how much autonomy to give AI in warfare?
Right. How do we maintain human control? And how do we prevent an AI arms race that could get out of hand?
Those are huge questions, and I don't think there are any easy answers. But it's something we have to grapple with, because this technology is here to stay.
And it's not just about technology, it's about our values as humans.
Exactly. What kind of future do we want?
It's up to all of us to shape that future. Stay curious, stay informed, and keep asking those tough questions.
It's been a great deep dive, and I think we've only just scratched the surface. But it's a conversation we need to keep having for all our sakes.